I would like to share with you an interesting story that happened in the life of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, founder of the Hare Krishna movement worldwide, a great scholar in Sanskrit, wrote about 70 books, and a great saint, and more than anything, he was very compassionate about the sufferings of other people. This was somewhere in the year 1972-73. He had just inaugurated a temple in India. And on the opening day, there was a big feast served to hundreds of visitors who had come. After the feast, Srila Prabhupada was meeting a few guests in his room. While he was talking to them, he suddenly heard children crying and dogs barking. He got up from his seat, went to the window, and he was shocked to see there were poor village children fighting with the street dogs for the leftover of the food that was strewn after the feast. When Srila Prabhupada saw that there were tears in his eyes, he called his disciples, leaders of the organization, and he said, "You have installed and invited Krishna to your temple today. God is the father of everyone, and where there is father, especially his children, should not be hungry." It was at that time he gave a mandate. No one should go hungry in a 10-mile radius of a temple, especially children. Inspired by this direction of Srila Prabhupada, ISKCON had initiated several food distribution programs here and there. In the year 1997, you are probably familiar with this famous ISKCON temple that was inaugurated. And as it is a custom in every Hindu temple, in this temple we distribute a small leaf cup of food to everyone who come to the temple. And it's been happening. It happens all the way from morning till evening. In the year 2000, we had two guests come to our temple, Mohandas Pai and his friend Abhay. And we were chatting about different things, and he was asking if this glorious, famous, wonderful, big temple in Bangalore, if it can be involved in some activities of social causes. We talked about various things, distributing sewing machines to women, computer training for children, and varieties of things. A few weeks later, when we met once again, we had conceived of an idea of using some of the kitchen infrastructure that was available in the temple, which was not being used on a daily basis. This was a festival kitchen, to cook food for some number of children, transport them, and distribute in a government school. This is how we started feeding 1,500 children in 5 schools on the outskirts of Bangalore city. In fact, we did not take any permission from the government. We went to the headmaster and told them, we want to come and feed your children. And the headmaster, they are used to having someone come from some very philanthropic people come and distribute some sweets or some gifts once in a way. But we told the headmaster, no, we want to come and feed your children every day. That was a pleasant surprise for him. He allowed us to start feeding. And in the next few weeks, I visited some of the schools to get a feedback from the headmaster. The first feedback we got was that the headmaster told us that there were more children showing up in the school because the news had spread in the village that a good meal is being provided in the school. That was very heartening to hear that what we are doing is having some impact. The second very significant feedback we got was that there were no more children fainting during the morning assembly in the school. The headmasters would explain to us that these children did not have a good breakfast or did not have a good dinner the previous evening. And so there were many instances of children fainting, and now they are getting a good meal. There are no more instances of fainting. The third feedback we got was that children have become very enthusiastic and energetic in the classroom and outside the classroom, and that has encouraged the teachers also to teach better. So we thought that, yes, what we are doing is good, and let's continue doing. In the next few months, we started receiving letters from other headmasters who would write to us saying, "We see the vehicle carrying food pass right in front of our school. There are a lot of children who come from poor families in our school. Their parents are construction workers. They leave home early in the morning, thrusting a rupee coin in the children's hands, hoping they will get some food during the day. So they are very poor. Can you stop and feed our children?" You know, when you get these kind of letters, you look at them and you feel sad about it and you file it. And that's exactly what we did. But in a few months, we had a bundle of letters. One day, we went through the letters, we counted them, and we found that there were requests for as many as 100,000 children in Bangalore city. This is a story of Bangalore, not Jharkhand, Orissa, Bihar, IT capital of the country. And it was very revealing to us. Even as Indians, we have seen poverty all around us. But it was very revealing to us to see how much a good meal means to these children and to these families, which we all take for granted. The next weekend, we met again, and Mohandas Pai was very strong. He said, "Yes, the problem in our country is to do with scale, and we have to do something big, otherwise we are barely scratching the surface of the problem." Madhu Pandit Das, who is the president of the ISKCON temple, a civil engineer from IIT Bombay, bulb lit up in his mind. And he said, "All right, let's set up a big kitchen to feed 30,000 children." And Mohan, and he got a few friends, and they all pitched in and gave some money. And in about 9 months, we had a kitchen where we could cook for about 30,000 children, and it was daunting. You can imagine. How are we going to feed? Where are we going to get the money to feed 30,000 children every day? But somehow, with faith in the Lord, we started this program. And that is how Akshaya Patra began. And today in Bangalore, we feed 220,000 children every day from 2 kitchens. And then we started expanding to other towns in Karnataka. And then we went to north in Uttar Pradesh, where in Vrindavan we are feeding about 169,000 children, practically covering the entire Mathura district. And then we kept adding newer and newer places in different parts of the country. Today we are in 8 states, we are in 17 locations. And in the last 12 years, it has given us immense satisfaction to be involved in this program. In South India, we provide a South Indian meal consisting of rice, sambar, and yogurt. And in the north, we provide a North Indian meal consisting of roti, dal, sabji, a vegetable rice. We are sensitive to children's requirement. It's not that you're, after all, poor children, you should eat whatever we give you. No, we want to be careful. We want to address their preferences. So in Orissa, we give an Orissan meal. In Gujarat, we give a Gujarati meal. We adapt our processes to provide the kind of meal that children like to eat. In the last 12 years, we have developed a kind of a specialization where we can cook for about 100 or 150,000 children in about 5 hours. In South India, we have these kind of large cauldrons that can cook rice for about 1,000 students in 15 minutes. And the entire handling is done in a very hygienic manner. This is a small video clip of the rice cooking section in Jaipur. We have huge industrial steam generators that actually accelerates the cooking process. These big cauldrons are custom made for our requirement, and they have a gear mechanism by which it tilts, and the cooked rice is emptied into a stainless steel trolley like this, and from the trolley into a large stainless steel tank, and from the tank into the container that actually goes to the school. So there is very little human touch of the food to ensure hygiene and cleanliness. It was a lot easier to manage the operations in South India. When we went to the north, we had to make rotis, which is usually made at home by mothers, one at a time. So now we went to 3 manufacturers of special purpose food processing machines, papad making and those kind of things, and we invested money with 3 different manufacturers, and 2 failed and 1 succeeded. And we worked with that person, with that manufacturer for the next few years, and now we have a machine that can make 40,000 chapatis per hour. I'll show you a small video clip of this. This is the wheat flour kneading machine in our kitchen in Vrindavan, and this can knead about 75 kilos of wheat flour at a time, and we have several of them. And these machines also have a tilting mechanism, and the dough is fed into the hopper of the machine, and we have a series of rollers like this, and between the rollers it gets flattened. At the bottom it comes out like a thick fabric, and this is die cut, and it is transferred onto a heated metal conveyor. It gets cooked from below. At the far end of the conveyor, it gets flipped to the second side and gets cooked on the second side. And the third conveyor at the bottom is a mesh conveyor where it comes in contact with fire and puffs up like fulka. And the unused portion of the dough is conveyed back to the hopper via another conveyor, and it is reused. This machine is about 30 feet long. It was specially made for our requirement. And you can see at the far end of the machine, the rotis, as they come out, they're very hot, these women collecting them. And we also apply a little oil to make it more tasty. And you can see here these women applying oil, and in our new machine we have an automatic oil sprinkler also. These rotis are put into these containers, they are weighed, and they're ready to be transported to the schools. In a kitchen where we cook for about 100,000 children, we consume about 5 tons of vegetables every day. It takes a long time to cut them, clean them. And these entire operation happens one day before, and the cut vegetables are kept in cold storage like this so that they are fresh to be used the next morning. And we have large cauldrons to prepare sambar or dal for about 6,000 students in just about 2 hours' time. And this is a small video clip of the Dal Cooking section in Jaipur. Measured quantities of lentils and pulses, they are poured into these large cauldrons. Actually, you can't make out the size. They're pretty large cauldrons. About 6 people can get into it. Of course, we don't let them get in. And even the cut vegetables are poured into these cauldrons. All of this cooks together and pours out into a dal tank, and from the tank into the container that goes to the school. We have conveyor belts to handle the huge quantity of food because we have to handle in a very short time. And each of these vessels have a tight fitting lid, and these vessels with the food, they are brought outside the kitchen to the loading bay. And we have custom built vehicles like this, and the vessels are loaded into the vehicle. There is actually a sequence in which you have to load the vessels. Depending on the sequence of school this vehicle is going to meet. So it takes a little time to get used to that. And by about 9 o'clock, these vehicles leave the kitchen premises. All over the country, we have a fleet of about 440 vehicles. And these are medium-sized vehicles, and some places we have bigger vehicles, and in most places we have even smaller vehicles. These vehicles travel up to about 60 kilometers from the kitchen, so we can cover in a radius of about 60 kilometers. Children line up. In most places, we encourage the teachers to be involved in serving so that they are also emotionally connected and involved in the program. Children can come for a second helping, third helping, as much as they want, as long as they don't waste the food. So you see here children in different video clips of different parts of the country, children sitting together and having a wholesome meal day after day. After the children have had the meals, the vessels are brought back to the kitchen by about 4 o'clock, and there is an elaborate process for washing them. We have improvised a 3-tank method to wash them with hot water and detergents, and these vessels are piled up and kept ready for the next day's operations. 10 of our kitchens are ISO certified to ensure hygiene, cleanliness, food safety, those kind of issues. And to ensure there is a secular reach of the program, we only provide them in government schools where there is a secular policy for admission. When we started the program 12 years back, we were funding it all by ourselves. And Akshaya Patra has also played a humble role in influencing the policy makers in the country. And today we have a national cooked meal program in the country, sponsored by the state and the central government. We get about 60% of the running costs from the state and the central government contribution. So we work in a PPP, public-private partnership mode, and we raise about 40% of the running cost and the cost for setting up of those big kitchens, which is not funded by the government. AC Nielsen did an independent study on the impact of the program, and they found that the school enrollment went up, school attendance stabilized, dropout rate in higher classes came down, classroom performance improved, and nutritional status of the students improved. In Bangalore, when we started the program, the enrollment in class 1 went up by 23%, dropout in 8th standard came down. In the last few years, we have found that the number of underweight children, boys and girls in Bangalore, has come down. And not underweight children in Bangalore in the last few years, boys and girls, has gone up. In summary, we are now feeding 1.3 million children in 17 locations. Our aspiration is to touch 5 million children by 2020, and our even greater aspiration is to one day shut down Akshaya Patra so that all the children in our country are well fed and well educated and we become irrelevant. Thank you very much.